I've heard so many stories this week that I never thought I'd hear. But this is how some people are now living in this part of the UK.
We were terrified, and my young children will keep asking me, Mommy, are they going to come to my house?
And they thought that they were going home to mass men burning their home.
It's just dystopian, to be honest. Like, you'd never think you'd have to do that in the 21st century.
This is madness.
They're scared.
Yes, they are scared.
So recently, I've been seeing a rise in anti-immigrant sentiment worldwide. Recently, there was a riot in Belfast after a Sudanese refugee did a knife attack, and then the locals started burning down homes and chasing away immigrants. In South Africa, South Africans are chasing away their fellow immigrants, and in Japan, yes, Japan, there is also a rise in anti-immigrant sentiment. Now in today's video, we're going to cover all those three places. So enough talking, let's start the video.
A barbaric knife attack on Monday triggered a wave of violent racist attacks by people furious about immigration. Families ran as they were burned out of their homes. There were vehicle checks by masked men and lists of houses that might be hit next. There were letters through doors telling migrants to leave. You can patch up houses, you can replace windows, but this sinister, overt racism leaves far deeper damage.
We were terrified, and my young children will keep asking me, Mommy, are they going to come to my house because they posted addresses?
Sarah and her daughter Hannah have worried about racism before, but not like this. Have you had that this week?
Oh my God, yeah. A lot of people were shouting, and thank God here was only the shouting, go back to your country, you don't belong here. But some places was worse, that they can even harm you. And some ladies were harmed, in my community, end up in hospital. They pulled their hijabs, scratched their faces, and it's just terrible.
Just makes everyone really paranoid, really scared, because like, what if like any bang you hear, anything that you see going outside, you're like, oh, are they coming for us? It's just dystopian, to be honest. Like, you'd never think you'd have to do that in the 21st century.
I moved from war when I was 14.
Somalia.
Somalia. I've seen tribal war, I've seen worse than this. And I came to Northern Ireland, and same thing going between them, religious issues and all that. And on top of that, now with the foreigners as well, it's just too much to handle.
We met this man who's positioned his garden hose next to the front door in case of a firebomb.
Just the worst scenario.
You're ready just in case?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm ready just in case.
Florin moved here from Romania 10 years ago. This week, his wife, a social care worker, has been hiding colleagues in her car.
Yes, nurses, carers.
Just to get them home safely.
Yes, I don't understand why people that take care of the old people of this country should hide them when they are going a job.
But they're worried.
This is madness. Yes, this is madness.
So I've seen situations in Belfast where some people are hiding in their homes. They don't even want to go out. So there was this lady who was doing food deliveries. Like, if you're afraid to leave the house, you can go and ask her, and she will come deliver food to your house, because people are afraid. They are not going out. Now, for some reason, these videos, when I cover these immigration videos, they always attract the wrong crowd. So if you're MAGA, if you're like these reform people in the UK, if you're like these immigrants are the devil stuff, please, this is not the channel for you. You're in the wrong place. So please, you can just exit the video at this point. This is not the video for you. You will find other channels who rejoice in other people's misery, but this channel is not about that. We do not rejoice in other people's misery. Now, I believe this is the second time in Northern Ireland I'm seeing these riots. There was some riots a few years ago. Was it 2024? I'm not exactly sure, but Europe is a ticking time bomb. Scotland is having like this anti-immigrant sentiment. I saw in Ireland there is also some protest against immigration. In the UK, there is always a protest against immigration, and you have reform, people like Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson, all these alt-right fringe creatures that are always taking advantage of the situation to make it worse. But let's continue with the video.
People who are afraid to leave their homes, people who have been unable to send their children to school.
This community food hub has been inundated with calls from terrified families.
I don't know where to start, to be honest. One thing that has stuck with me is a woman who parked her car in the middle of the road and ran in hysterics, and she had children in the back of the car in hysterics. And the reason for that was that one of her children had identified their address on social media as being a target, and they thought that they were going home to masked men burning their home. That trauma from the Troubles has come back for many people this week, and I think within the response, people are saying, well, that's not going to happen again here, and that's been a big part of that response and that community solidarity, where people recognise and they can identify what people are going through, and they don't want it to happen again.
It's why thousands of people turned out in the centre of Belfast to call this behaviour out.
Say it loud! Say it clear! Refugees are welcome here!
The revulsion was clear amongst almost everyone here. But to the side, a small counter-demonstration. People from loyalist neighbourhoods. Not every racist incident has been in these areas, but many have. The days of paramilitary groups openly governing these places are gone, but they still hold real influence and can get people back on the streets. Reverend Chris Hudson knows how this place ticks. He helped negotiate a ceasefire with loyalist paramilitaries in the 1990s.
I condemn people for their horrendous acts. Of course, those who broke the law, those who chased people out of their homes, must suffer a penalty for what they did. But at the same time, the voices in that community who support that type of action, we've got to have them in the tent and hear why these are happening, and see, are there things behind that can be mended? Things like housing, things like marginalisation, things like educational possibility, all of that.
Even the idea of reconciliation is challenging when in the suburbs north of Belfast you now also find new displays of hatred.
This is one of a number of anti-Islam murals that have gone up in the last few weeks.
Nobody here would talk to us about them, but at the rally in the city centre we met Kashif.
This should be taken down. This is hate crime. It should be classed as hate crime, and it should be dealt with severe punishment.
He sees this hatred becoming normalised, particularly online.
There has been videos of vigilante groups posting live TikTok videos over the many couple of last years, showing them acting like the Gestapo essentially. They're stopping people of colour, anybody who's perceived of a different background, intimidating them, threatening them, posting it live on TikTok.
So that's what's happening in Belfast right now. They are posting addresses of where immigrants live so that they can be targeted, like people have lost their mind completely. And the problem with these situations is normally the innocent are the ones who suffer. Like you can see the people who are nurses, people who are working good, genuine jobs in Northern Ireland are the ones being targeted, being firebombed, and all these terrible things happening to them. Now, we must admit there is an issue with immigration in Europe. This is not an excuse to turn against your fellow human being. This is a government failure. The European governments have failed their citizens. They have failed in regulating immigration. They have not enforced immigration. There was mass migration. Now people are revolting. They are turning against their own neighbors, fellow human beings, without a care in the world, terrorizing them like it's all gone to hell. All this would have been prevented if the government had done the right things from the beginning. But anger and hate are the most powerful emotions. They are so easy to trigger people with anger and hate. So if one immigrant does something, every immigrant is blamed for it. And that's what's happening in Belfast. That is what's happening in the UK. All you need is one immigrant to do a crime, and the millions or thousands or hundreds of thousands of immigrants share all the blame. That's how it is. That is also what's happening in South Africa, as you can see in this next clip.
Another protest in South Africa, they happen often. This one is about service delivery. People in this community want things like houses and jobs. It's your typical scene. You have the police on one side, and some of the protesters are on the road, blocking the road with things like rocks, bricks, anything they can find. Some South Africans blame corruption, crime and unemployment on undocumented foreigners. This is the second group of Ghanaian nationals returning home because of safety concerns. Protest leaders have issued a deadline for all migrants without valid visas to leave the country by June the 30th.
One guy came to me around 6 in the evening that, hey, my brother, you are my man. You need to be very careful because on 30th is going to be tough. So I said, okay, no problem. We are here. We are all Africans. We are here. We need to work. So I did not take it serious. So unfortunately, another one came the next day in the evening, the same time, and then he spoke to me. I said, no, then let me see what I will do.
Last month, nearly 300 Ghanaians voluntarily left the country.
So this thing, I think the South African government, Ramaphosa government, need to take serious action about this thing because it's spoiling the name of South Africa.
Anti-migrant groups want the government to tighten border security.
Why they here? They don't have papers, the proper papers to be in this country. That's why they are doing all these things. They're making our streets so dirty.
South Africa experiences recurring waves of xenophobic violence, sometimes just before electoral cycles.
Who is funding the vigilante groups in South Africa? Where is people like Action SA and the Patriotic Alliance? Where are they getting their money? Will they be prepared to disclose who their funders are and for what interest?
Okay, so you can see there is vigilante groups in Belfast. There is vigilante groups like everywhere in Europe chasing immigrants away. In South Africa, in Africa, they're chasing away fellow Africans. Like, it's insane. It's pure xenophobia. I've covered South Africa before on this channel. In South Africa, like every few years, they normally chase away fellow black Africans. But for some reason, they always spare every other race. But if you're a black African, they're going to chase you away. But that's besides the point. Now, I do not condone violence. That is why I'm even doing these videos. If you have to turn against your fellow human being, because believe it or not, I know it's a shocking concept. It's a shocking concept for MAGA and all these other people. It's a shocking concept. But we are all human beings. We are all trying to survive in this God-forsaken world. That is why some people would leave their country to go in other countries. Now, as immigrants, it is also your responsibility to respect the laws, to do the right thing in that country that is welcoming you. So, mutual respect is required on both sides. Immigrants should respect the laws, behave according to the laws, try to integrate as much as you can. It is not your land, you're a visitor. And the locals also should understand that these are human beings like you and me. The only difference is that you are born, you are lucky enough. You are lucky enough to be born in that country that you are in. There's a high chance you could have also been born in Timbuktu or wherever country, and you would have been in their same situation like them. So we are all human beings trying to survive this God-forsaken world. But somehow we are colliding this way because the governments are failing. The governments in Belfast, Ireland, Northern Ireland are failing their local citizens. That is why the citizens are revolting and they need just one trigger. And the trigger this time was an immigrant. One immigrant did a knife crime, very horrific, and that was it. That's all they needed to go and terrorize every other immigrant, legal or not illegal. It did not matter. As long as you're an immigrant, you are going to be terrorized. Same thing in South Africa. South Africa government has been a laughing stock. Crime, they've lost control of everything. So, of course, the locals are going to turn on immigrants because that's what happens to humans. When things get tough, it's always easier to point on the foreigner, on the immigrants, and, attack them, sometimes physically, like they're doing in South Africa. Now, let's move from South Africa to go to Japan, because Japan is normally considered this peaceful place, but Japan is also a ticking time bomb. So let's see the rise of anti-immigrant sentiment in Japan.
A rare dissenting voice in Japan's otherwise orderly society. These nationalists want to restore what they see as a great Japan, sovereign, militarily powerful, and strict on immigration.
Foreigners who risk disturbing public order in Japan aren't welcome. There are the Chinese, for example, and also the Kurds who people have been talking about lately. At night, they create disorder everywhere. They do things that break the rules, not to mention all the drug-related issues.
Hiroshi Kawahara founded one of these ultra-nationalist groups 25 years ago. He wants anti-foreigner policies to be implemented and dreams of restoring the emperor as the head of the country. We followed him during one of their gatherings. Their goal today is to honour Japanese soldiers who died in combat during the Second World War.
We celebrate this day with pride. Even though our ancestors lost the war, their determination was honourable. On one hand, they liberated Asia and Africa, and on the other, they ensured Japan's survival and self-defence, preserving our country's independence.
Hold on. Did they just say that Japan liberated Asia and Africa? Like, I'm not the best historian in the world, but I do not think that's what's happened. Because most of these nationalist groups, if you look at it, at the end of the day, normally it's the same talking points. It's normally the immigrant committing crimes and stuff. You hear this Japanese leader saying that it is, the Chinese are the ones who are committing crimes in Japan. And you saw in the previous video, the South Africans were saying like the immigrants are the ones committing crimes. They're making the streets dirty. Now, in Belfast, that was an actual crime, but it was committed by one immigrant. You might say, okay, yes, many of them commit crimes, yes. Whose responsibility is it to provide security for the citizens? It is the government. My whole point is, all these you are supposed to blame your government. You're supposed to work with your government. It is your government who are allowing all these immigrants. It is your government that is causing all these things to happen. But you are choosing, well, not you who's watching this. Most of these vigilantes are choosing to intentionally go out and blame all the immigrants, even the ones who came legally. Because when this nationalism normally enters the room, logic exits. There is no, whether this guy is legal or not. No. It normally becomes, he is different, she is different, they're not supposed to be here. That's all it normally comes down to. And it always ends badly. If you want to ask me, you see what anger and hate got us in America? Anger and hate got us to Iran. Now we're in a war with Iran. Right now the world's economies are in a recession because anger and hate prevailed in the election, and we elected somebody who was appealing to the most anger and hate within us. That's the same situation that's going to happen in the UK. That's the same situation that's going to happen in all these places. In South Africa, you're going to elect the same person who's going to be championing anger and hate, and it always ends badly. But enough of my rant. Let's continue.
It's an event that is seen as provocative by neighbouring countries. For some historians abroad, the Japanese never liberated Asia or Africa. Instead, they view it as colonisation. Taiwan in 1895, Korea in 1910, and in the early 20th century, the occupation of the Philippines, Malaysia, and Manchuria, a region in northern China. In Japan, nationalist sentiment appears to be rising again. Last October, Sanai Takaishi, a leading figure of the ultra-conservative right, was elected Prime Minister. She wants to limit immigration and increase the country's military spending. This political climate is emboldening racist rhetoric among part of the population. Mohammed Nazir has lived in Japan for 40 years. Originally from Sri Lanka, he is a Muslim and has fully integrated into local culture. He speaks fluent Japanese and plays an active role in community life in his neighbourhood. But a few months ago, he became the target of racist insults.
You would see this, everything started, I think, in November. I never thought I will get such a message inside Japan through a Japanese. So that's first time in my life. So after being here for a long time, and I was a bit sad.
Mohammed says these hateful messages only come from a very small minority of Japanese people.
The new mosque last year, there was no such things up to last year. To survive Japan, they need a lot of foreigners. And even all the foreigners, if they say at once we are leaving here, and Japan, they have to close most of the factories, industries, and even the shops.
Japan is a country of 122 million people. It has an ageing society and is facing a severe labour shortage. Today, the archipelago is being forced to cautiously open up after being historically inward-looking for centuries. In Kawaguchi, a suburb of Tokyo, some residents complain that the Kurdish community has become too large. They represent around 2,000 people out of a population of more than 600,000. This politician has made the issue the central focus of his campaign. A far-right candidate, he hopes to be elected mayor of the city. He does not want Japan to follow the Western model of immigration.
When a Japanese person applies for welfare, there are often complications, and the request is rarely approved. But for foreigners, benefits are granted much more quickly. If I become mayor, I will put an end to this.
Oh, where have I had that before? I've always had this thing, they're taking the benefits. In America, they were always like, these immigrants, immigrants are always in welfare. They're always in welfare. They're the ones doing all these things. And then Trump started deporting people, and all these farm workers were deported. Now the farms are facing serious situations. Like, these are things that people normally don't want to look at it in a logical sense. Japan has an aging population. Most people are going to be going there, are going to be doing, like the guy said, working in factories. Most people are going to be doing these home care jobs. I just did a video of people retiring in prisons in Japan. So I know the easiest thing is to hate. Is just say, oh, all these immigrants need to go. They need to exit right now. And then my life will be good again. Life will be peachy. My government will love me again and treat me nicely. It's easy thing to say. It's easy to always think that way. But that's not it. You have to look at it logically. What's causing all these things and why these countries there'll always be immigration. There was immigration since the dawn of humanity. There will be immigration long after all of us are dead and gone. That's the sad reality. If you hate immigration, I'm sorry to break this news for you, but there will be immigration. There was immigration. There will be immigration, even long after we are all gone. That's the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. What you have to be facing now is how do we live with each other respectfully, respecting the laws, treating each other as human beings without all these things that is happening. But enough of my rant. I know I've annoyed many people, but but some people will understand what I'm saying. So let's continue.
Faced with growing immigration, Japan's leaders have plenty of decisions to make. According to this expert, the government must implement a real integration policy for foreigners.
Japan should establish a Japanese language education system for foreigners and allow their children to enter Japanese schools so they can receive the same education, grow up in Japan, and later hold the same jobs as Japanese citizens with equivalent salaries.
In 2024, Japan lost nearly 910,000 citizens, the direct consequence of a record low birth rate and a population aging at high speed.
Okay, so as you can see, there is a rise in anti-immigrant sentiment worldwide. Even in Africa, you see South Africans chasing away fellow black Africans. In Europe, you go to Ireland, you go to pick a country in Europe, Poland, pick a country anywhere in Europe, there is a rise in anti-immigrant sentiment. In America, here, it's always been there. Now we are experiencing it the most, of course, under this new administration. So let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments, do you support this rise in anti-immigrant sentiment? Should everybody go back home, go back to your home, take care of your own country, don't come into our country? Or do you think that there should be a better way of handling this issue that is already here? There is no escaping it. Somebody has to fix the issue. If you think there's a better way, let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like this type of videos, consider liking and subscribing. And of course, share this on all the networks. I'll see you.
Oh my goodness, all the networks! Wow! All the networks!